What defines being a man exists biologically and socially, and hasn't refined over millennium in different cultures around the world. But what does masculinity mean to younger men as opposed to when they are more mature and experienced? And how is masculinity applied to the more vulnerable necessities in life? Masculinity has mainly promoted the idea of success, dominance, and legacy. Serving as principles, its true meaning can be convoluted as it takes experience to thoroughly live by and understand. According to Winston Churchill, there is nothing noble being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. To honor this quote, there needs to be a narrative, a story, a past to display the sacrifices made to not only learn, but to live by the truth of life. Here we explore the prevalence of masculinity in two particular films, Rocky IV and Creed II. Released in 1985, Rocky IV deliberately serves as pro-USA propaganda in the face of Soviet-era Russia. In its fourth sequel, the protagonist, Rocky has already had his fair share of struggle and conflict, from past villain archetypes such as Apollo Creed and Clubber Lang. However, in his fourth outing, Ivan Drago comes from overseas to introduce a new antagonistic dynamic, nationalism. Touching upon the rivalry between the US and USSR, each conflict revolves around the goal of US triumph. Moreover, an important turning point in the film takes place when former villain turned ally, Apollo Creed, is killed in the ring by Ivan Drago, and Rocky is forced to carry the weight of not stopping the fight. The aspect of masculinity is applied when Rocky is to represent his nation and avenge his fallen comrade simultaneously. On the other hand, existing within the same continuity decades later, Creed II follows suit when again Russian opponents paved the way to the main stage, making a name for themselves in the boxing world. This time, the archetypical villain takes the form of Ivan Drago's son, Victor Drago. Moreover, the protagonist is now Apollo Creed's son, Adonis Creed. Taking place in the 21st century, the political climate regarding the Cold War has toned down following the collapse of the USSR in 1991, bringing a contrast in the era for nationalism. Here, the aspect of masculinity is applied when Apollo Creed's son, Adonis Creed, seeks revenge for the death of his father. This plays out the narrative of lineal pride in an attempt to lay claim for wrongdoing. Both films were chosen because of how it treats the idea of masculinity. Masculinity in nature is a claim, a position. In Rocky IV, it's a stand against foreign invaders, a threat severely enhanced by the blood of a fallen comrade. In Creed II, it's a pursuit of justice and finding of purpose where the protagonist has a lot to lose. Both films, despite being in the same continuity, reflect the same aspects of masculinity in different forms in different eras. Honoring Churchill's words of wisdom, both films used a montage to conceptualize the idea of rebirth, repolishing oneself to handle the upcoming task at hand. Rocky IV's montage takes place in Russia, in the snow as Rocky Balboa takes his strive for greatness to his opponent's backyard, as the scene cuts into Drago's training camp as well. While in Creed II, it cuts between Creed and Drago's training sequences. Here, the camera cuts from vast and desolate sands of the desert to the cold and damp palette of their respective training camps. Moreover, the montage's setting are polar opposites of each other. Both films, in the most cathartic and pivotal scenes, vulnerable emotions that masculinity cannot ignore, are scored to display the reward or shock of the scene. For instance, in Rocky IV, Rocky Balboa's victory over Ivan Drago is scored by Vince DiCola's Victory. It represents American triumph over Soviet Russia and justice for Apollo Creed's death, all the while being accompanied by a wide shot in this scene showing Rocky in the middle, a victor among the crowd. However, in Creed II, in contrast to the cathartic triumph, a consistent score was kept articulating the more wholesome moments in the face of masculinity. For instance, in the scene when Adonis Creed and his wife come to find out they're having a child, an instrumental called Adonis and Amara is played to accompany the scene. From there on out, each scene that is remotely vulnerable and emotional, the instrumental is played.
Mom, listen.
To enhance the narrative, both films utilize costume design with symbolic colors as well as archetypes. To reinforce the rivalry between the US and Russia, the colors red, white, and blue were worn by Rocky and Apollo, while the colors red and yellow were worn by Ivan Drago, both sides wearing the flags of their respective countries. In Creed 2, the same colors are used. However, in Creed and Drago's second fight, Adonis's costume is designed with the American flag, but in black. This is meant to represent nationalism, as well as the theme of rebirth and the reinvigoration from the figurative death, symbolic of their first fight. The editing will explore the final fights in the two films. In Rocky IV, the fight is filmed through a medium shot the majority of the boxing match, with the occasional choppy slow motion of the frame to depict the hard blows being exchanged. Sharing the slow motion shots, Creed II, however, has closer shots that track the two fighters throughout the ring. This is due to the modernization of the film equipment that provide more steady and higher quality shots because of the films being decades apart. To capture the dialogue, both fight scenes present selective focus to showcase minute details of the narrative. In Rocky IV, Apollo Creed served as the initial hero that took on the threat, yet died in the process.
Creed, stay up! Follow inside of the Creed! Creed is against the rope! Finally stepped in and they stop it!
If he dies, he dies.
Moreover, with Ivan Drago as the villain archetype, following Apollo Creed's death, Rocky served as the underdog in the final fight in Russia with the odds stacked against him, destined to win. However, in Creed II, the new underdog against the abdominal machine, Victor Drago, is Adonis Creed, the son of a hero. Moreover, tying the two films together, Rocky Balboa, coming from his own series, serves as a trainer and mentor to Apollo Creed. It is clear that both films aim to construct goals for their respective protagonists and have them stand for a belief or claim that reinforce masculine ideals. However, they do not ignore the hollow claims or the genuine vulnerable necessities of life and the impact they have on the pursuit of legacy.